Hello everybody and welcome once again to the F4 Australian Championship. It's a very different race weekend this time as we have moved away from the native Australia after the first three events at the Bend Motorsport Park, Australia for the first two events, and Sydney Motorsport Park in Eastern Creek, New South Wales. Now we go overseas if you like, as we move to in Kuala Lumpur in downtown Malaysia. It is a wonderful venue. This the former Grand Prix venue that hosted Formula One from 1999 all the way through till 2016. It's a much missed venue in the world of Formula One racing. Hopefully it will return, but certainly for this particular event, it is the F4 Australian Championship that takes centre stage. We have three races this weekend, and for the first time this season, James Bezique has been beaten to the pole position. It could provide us with a hat-trick of very exciting races. Hello everybody, Jake Sanson here in the commentary box, providing all of the action from these three races on the Sepang International Circuit, a very different venue for this particular battle out on the course. And after the dominant run in the first 9 races of the season, where James Bezique has won everything bar the raffle, pole position every time and race win every time, moving to Sepang, things are very different. It's not all his own way, and with 6 races left in the championship and 150 points still to score, it ain't over till it's over. Nicolas Starty, his closest challenger, does have an opportunity to close up on him, and it can be very interesting to see who gets the job done. But James Bezique and Nicolas Starty, of course, the teammates at AGI Sport, have both been vanquished as we look at Cooper Webster, the former Indian F4 champion. Last year, he won the F4 India Championship as well as competing in GB3 out in the United Kingdom. But he is returning to his native Australia as a championship. But of course, this weekend, he is here with Evans GP and his teammates Kai Darianani and Tiago Rodriguez. It's the Evans GP squad making their first appearance in F4 Australia. And boy, have they shown the cat amongst the pigeons in this particular first event for them. It has been an almost dominant display in the first part of the weekend. They've definitely showcased an incredible amount of flair straight off the bat. Pole position has gone the way of Tiago Rodriguez of Macau for this first race of the weekend. You can see Nicolas Starty's engineer just adjusting tyre pressures for the number 15 car. Nicolas Starty actually starting all the way back in 7th on the grid for this one. In a championship that has seen the masterclass battling away in the first 3 rounds of the championship, we got to see the likes of Mark Rosser, Mark Wilson, Lawrence Katsidis, Tim Boydie, Nathan Gotch, Nicholas Filippetto, and John Paul Drake in the first part of the season. From this moment on, the Masters class is no longer there, sadly, but we do still have the Rookie Drivers' Cup. That is going to be played out between Seth Gilmore and Imogen Radburn, as it has been since the start of the season. We'll update you on that as the weekend continues to progress, because both drivers are on the grid for this one, as well as a third rookie in the lineup to join them. Inigo Anton joins them from the Black Arts Racing team. But we'll update you by going through the grid in its entirety. Tiago Rodriguez, the young, getting himself in pole position after a very solid race performance from his perspective. You can be very happy with the way things have currently gone down. He's certainly looking very good. That is Costa Taparis, who lines up second on the grid for this one. It'll be fascinating to see what he can do. Charges his way forward out of the blocks. He's definitely in for an exciting battle and a great campaign from his perspective. It'll be fascinating to see what happens between those two on the front row of the starting grid. James Bezique, the man who has dominated pretty much everything over the course of this season, he lines up third on the grid, so it's not only the first time he's not got pole position, but he isn't even starting from the front row of the grid this weekend. It definitely makes things particularly entertaining for him. He's going to have his work cut out to move his way further forward, but certainly the battles will be very strong from the outset. Cooper Webster lining up in 4th position on the starting grid. A great opportunity for him to showcase his ability right off the start line. So we'll get to see some good performances from him. And then fifth on the grid for Kai Darianani. He's actually going to be in pole position for race 3 after a solid run in both qualifying sessions. Good to see him. You can just see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen there, Alistair Young stood beside his father, Alex. Alistair Young's fresh off the boat from India, making his way, having just taken part in the last 2 rounds of the Indian Racing League Championship at the Madras International Circuit and on the Chennai Street Circuit, a night race that he took part in last weekend. He's now back in his driver coach mode with the Black Arts Racing team. He's looking after Inigo Anton in this particular race, 6th position on the grid. He would also have been helping out to work with Arjun Chaheda, the Indian driver, but sadly he fell ill yesterday and has had to withdraw from the event. Very unfortunate indeed for the young Indian talent. So behind Inigo Anton on the grid, we have Nicholas Starty. He lines up 7th place on the grid for the AGI Sports Squad. Then it is Seth Gilmore, the man who's been fighting for the rookie crown all the way and certainly been one of the most competitive drivers out there. In terms of the rookie points, he actually leads with 197 points to Imogen Radburn, who is just behind him on the starting grid, finishing off in 9th position of the starting grid, but on 136 points herself. And she has actually won all 4 of the last 4 races in the championship as far as the rookie points are concerned. So very exciting to see what she can do. And then in 10th position at the tail end of the field, we have Sebastian Amadeo, who is going to be running in position 10 from the start. Sebastian obviously competing for the first time since the last round of the championship for the Jam Motorsport team, and he is the sole remaining competitor from Jam Motorsport, as Blake Purdy obviously only did the first 2 weekends of the championship, and the Masters drivers Mark Rosser and John Paul Drake are not present anymore. There is the Sepang International Circuit. The longest straight is almost 1 kilometre in length, 15 total corners, 5.54 kilometres in length. Circuit, and the elevation changes and the sweeping undulations definitely make it a very extreme challenge for all of the competitors out there. We're going to see some really interesting challenges for all of the competitors ahead of race 1 in the F4 Australian Championship. 3 races, of course, this weekend. The next 2 are tomorrow. But it's definitely going to be a really exciting challenge for all of the contenders out there. And with this being the 4th weekend out of 5, we're still waiting for details of the 5th round of the championship. But it is great to see all of our competitors are in a solid position. Looks like all of them are going to be getting themselves out on the starting grid ready ahead of the start. So no major catastrophes to speak of, which is very good news indeed from their perspective. They obviously want to make sure they're in the best possible frame of mind heading into this one. It's been very competitive so far this year. If you're James Pazik, it's been very dominant so far this year. So Evans GP coming in and changing things has definitely opened things up a little bit, the nature of things. So it's really good to see everybody getting themselves into a great situation out on the course. Hello to everybody. Great to see everyone on the live stream as well. Having a quick hello and a quick wave to the likes of Sobatici, to Super Lemon, and to Sierra Fred Hjerm. Yes, it is indeed Jake Sanson with you in the commentary box for all 3 races this weekend. Looking forward to seeing how it all continues on. And we're going to see a very exciting battle for all 3 of these races, especially now that the dominant force of this championship, James Pazik, has already had a little bit of a waken up for these remaining races here this weekend. He doesn't start, as far as I'm aware, he won't start it in pole position for any of the races so far this week, unless something happens over the course of this first race and he ends up lining up in pole position for race 2. But he actually doesn't want that, because it means that there's been a bit of a difficulty for him heading into race 1. But there is your pole sitter, Tiago, lining up on the very front end of the starting grid. His teammate Kai Darianani and his other teammate Cooper Webster, the Evans GP team, making their first move of the 2024 season in F4 Australia. There is Inigo Anton, the sole representative now of the Black Arts Racing team from the Philippines. A real shame that he's not joined by his Indian teammate Arjun Chaheda now. And you'll recognize in the headset to the right of your screen Alex Young, the ex-Formula 1 driver, who of course is the managing director of the Black Arts Racing team. And his son Alistair, as well as being the team's chief test driver, is also a really good driver coach within this particular fold. The 5-minute board goes up. There is Nicholas Starty, the man who is 2nd in the championship, but 7th on the grid for this one. The AGI Sport team, who have had things very much all their own way this season, have suddenly had a wake-up call from Evans GP, who have come straight into the championship and have put themselves right up to the sharp end of the field. So it's definitely going to make things entertaining. So we'll see how everything is ready for the start. There is the number 24 as well, Seth Gilmore, the man who is leading the rookie points at this stage. It's very much a battle between him and teammate Imogen Radburn for the rookie table this year, and they have been swapping the victories all the way through the year. It was very much the first 5 races of the season. The rookie win was taken by Seth Gilmore on all of those occasions. Of course, Imogen Radburn didn't appear until the second round of the championship, but by race 3, she had unlocked the pace and she won all 3 of the races last time out at Sydney Motorsport Park. So the mechanics are now clearing the grid. All that will be left will be the drivers as they will go around for their one formation lap of this 5.5 kilometer circuit. One of the best race circuits in the world, this. It really was. For me, the last great race circuit build of the 20th century, launched and opened in 1999, of course. There is Imogen Radburn getting herself ready for the start. 9th on the starting grid. There's a lot of talk and a lot of chat as a potential candidate for the F1 Academy next year. Definitely a very talented young racing driver in her own right, and it looks as though she has all of the credence and all of the caliber to work her way further forward. There is Sebastian Amadio getting his first start with the Jam Motorsport team this weekend. The first start of 3, of course. He's been here since the start of the season, obviously continuing to work his magic as he continues the progression through the motorsport ladder. So the drivers gearing themselves up then, ready for the start. Obviously, they will get the 3-minute board, and then that just gives them the last minute to dial everything up with their one mechanic that's been left on the grid. The final protocols and procedures as they go through. Anything other than a James Pazik victory will be delightful for the other 9 drivers out there on the grid, because it will prove that he is beatable. But certainly in his native land, James Pazik has had one-way traffic and a dominant race win in all 9 of the previous F4 Australian Championship races in 2024. Great to see the return for Australian Championship, of course, the first time since 2019 that the championship has been in operation, and it's a full credit to everybody at Top Speed for continuing to grow the motorsport world in Asia and Pacific regions, and it's great to see F4 Australia back in operation once again. So the competitors are now being left on the grid to their own devices. I think just Inigo Anton's mechanic is left on the grid, along with one of the AGI Sport mechanics on the front row of the grid for Costa Tapares. So the big question, one of the questions coming in on the stream, and it's an interesting one from Leo Lam. Will Thiago Rodriguez do the Macau World Cup? It's certainly going to be on the radar of all of these drivers. I think you can expect to see all 10 of the competitors on the starting grid at least make a bid for an entry. And you would almost certainly expect Thiago Rodriguez to, based on the fact that he is from Macau. So he would dearly love to race on home soil. I myself am going to be at Macau later this year, sadly not for the Grand Prix as far as I'm aware. Certainly for the IAME Series Asia Open Cup, which is going to be taking place on the first weekend of December on the 7th and 8th. So I'll get my first taste of Macau later this year, and this part of the world really is beautiful. I mean, just look at the wildlife that we've got here at Sepang. All forms of spectator want to come closer to the race cars, even if they have wings and beaks. So the last couple of checks for the last few cars on the starting grid. When the 1-minute board goes up, it will be just the drivers left on the starting grid then. So the last couple of checks are completed for our mechanics. And although there's only 10 on the grid, we've definitely got quality over quantity on this occasion. Hopefully a few more drivers will be joining up in the grid in the 2025 F4 Australia season. But to build an empire, you've got to build it on small foundations of strength. And that's how things are going to continue to grow in the F4 Australian Championship. So the competitors are dialed in. Jack Starty is there for the win. Hello, Jack. I hope you've got a decent haircut at the moment. That's continuing banter between me and him. I'm sure he's going to mud wrestle me to the ground for that one, but always good to keep the banter flowing. And fair play to Jack, and well done for all his achievements over the main body of the 2024 season. Great to see that he's tuning in to his friend and racing brother, Nicholas Starty, who, of course, he was teammates with at the start of the season in the F4 United Arab Emirates Championship, which, of course, is coming up very soon indeed. It won't be that long until the championship kicks off again in January. Green flags, and we're under starters' orders then for the formation lap. So all 10 drivers, hopefully, will be able to get themselves away and under the rotation for the formation. Indeed, they have. So now the question is going to be warming up the tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature to move their way further forward. And it's going to be a really exciting battle on the shorter race circuit, of course. this start, because they're obviously in the support race paddock, so the start-finish line is actually on the other side of the main start-finish straight, because the Grand Prix pit lane, as it were, is currently occupied by the competitors from the Thailand Super Series and the Malaysian Endurance Championship. They are there this weekend, so the F4 Australian Championships garages are on the other side of the grandstand. So the Formula One pit straight is not actually the start-finish straight on this occasion. So Ciela Fred Herm asks, where are we going to have race 5, or round 5 of the championship, we should say? Well, that's a good question. We apparently are getting news updates in the next fortnight. So do stick around, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell for all of the updates. You'll never miss a race, and you'll never miss a moment. And you'll also get the news updates if you subscribe on social media, F4_AUS. And that is where all of the as it gets updated will be broadcasted and released. Let's go through the starting grid then. Tiago Rodriguez lining up in pole position, his first appearance in the F4 Australian Championship, and straight up to the top spot. Alongside him on the grid, Costa Tapares for the AGI Sport team. Will be interesting to see who gets to the first corner first. James Bezique for AGI, who has been dominant in all 9 races leading up to this point. It's going to be a really exciting battle. Cooper Webster lining up alongside him on the starting grid, the man who won the F4 Indian Championship at the end of last year. Kai Daryanani, the gamer-turned-racing driver and the pride of India, running 5th position on the starting grid for this one. Then Inigo Anton lining up for the Black Arts Racing team in P6, the young man from the Philippines. Nicolas Stati lining up in 7th on the starting grid, 2nd in the championship at this point. 8th for Seth Gilmore and 9th for Imogen Radburn, the 2 rookie contenders, both outpaced on this occasion by the new boy Inigo Anton. And 10th on the grid, Sebastian Amidio. So it is the full length of the Grand Prix circuit that we are using, but the start-finish straight is obviously taking place on the far side. So here's the grid in full then. Tiago Rodriguez and Costa Tapares from James Bezique, championship leader, and Cooper Webster, reigning F4 India champion. Kai Daryanani, 5th on the grid. Inigo Anton, 6th place on his debut for the Black Arts team. Nicolas Stati, 2nd in the championship, 7th on the grid. Seth Gilmore and Imogen Radburn fighting for the rookie title. Sebastian Amadio lining up 10th on the grid for Jam Motorsport. So with everybody gearing up in position then, it's going to be a very interesting race this. Very different conditions to what we saw from the first 9 races of the season in Australia. The climate is different, the humidity is different, and this is a very different race circuit as well. Formula One grade, FIA Licence 1, and of course with a lot of undulation and elevation changes as well. Things have definitely changed from the last 2 circuits on the calendar at the Bend and Sydney Motorsport Park. So let's see what happens. Tiago Rodriguez and Costa Tapares have come straight out of the blocks and gone top of the tree with a fastest position on the grid. Fans in the stands getting ready to greet them. You're never going to get a full capacity crowd for an F4 race, but it's great to see that the fans that have attended, of course, are there in the numbers. So the 10th race of the F4 Australian Championship 2024. Now, it's interesting because, of course, the starting grid, the dummy grid, is actually there, but they are going to go off the Grand Prix grid for the starting line. So I was actually incorrect. Their dummy grid was the previous starting line that they were lining up on, but they will actually go to the main grid where the starting gantry and the timing gantry is. When they finish the race, they'll actually go back to their support paddock on that straight once again. So they've actually done a full formation lap plus a straight as far as the preparation for the race is concerned. So here we go. The cars will line up on the grid then. Tiago Rodriguez from Macau, pole position for the Evans GP squad. There he is, the Macau driver. Lining up in pole position, looking very solid and strong. This is a great chance for him to come straight into the championship and go away from the first race in winning form. Costa Tapares 2nd, James Bezique 3rd, then Cooper Webster, Kai Daryanani, Inigo Anton, Nicolas Stati, Seth Gilmore, Imogen Radburn and Sebastian Amadio. It's time for the drivers to line up and charge for the first corner. Who is going to get the start perfectly? Can James Bezique take it to the 10th win in a row? Or are we going to see a brand new winner? Rodriguez, Tapares, Webster and Daryanani. Very keen for it to be them. We get the final call at the back of the grid. Hopefully everybody's in position on the start-finish straight, and we get the command on the back. The green flag should fly. When it does, we're ready to go. There is the green flag. The lights will come on. When they go out, we'll be racing in F4 Australia for the 10th time this season. Red lights on. Red lights out. Let's race at Sepang. And it's a good start from Tiago Rodriguez. way off the grid. But a good start from Amadio at the back of the field. He's been able to make up a bit of a challenge. Watch for James Bezique. He's going to try and draw level with Costa Taparis as they get to the first corner. He'll be up the inside. Watch from around the outside as well. Cooper Webster's made a beautiful start. He's going to try and get past all of them on the hairpin. He drifts out a little bit wide. He finds the marbles and he ends up losing ground, but he might be able to find it back to the inside line for turn 2. Tucks him in front of both of the AGIs, and that could be a 1-2 for Evans as they come through. Trying to keep it together on the far side though. Cooper Webster's really trying to hold his nerve. But Thiago Rodriguez has made the perfect launch. He leads as they go down to turn 1. The two AGI teammates actually battling away, and he could be 3 wide in the braking zone for second place behind them as Cooper Webster goes the long way round and tries to take on James Bezique. Has he been able to get the job done? It looks like he's in front, so it is Evans GP 1 and 2. Excellent start from Thiago Rodriguez. Brilliant from Cooper Webster. Really held his nerve, and an excellent launch from him. He's up to second position. So your race leader is Thiago Rodriguez from Macau. For the first time this year, James Bezique is looking pretty hungry for a victory from third position. A very different scenario, a very different situation as the competitors now make their way through. It's going to be an interesting run for the first lap of racing. So far, so good, as everybody has made it work in a fine situation so far. No problems on this first lap. The AGI teammates third and fourth place, I should say now, as Costa Taparis and James Bezique are having a decent battle, running in close proximity. So it's going to be a really intriguing battle as they continue to make their way further forward on the far side. And as Siegfried Herm points out, as it stands at the moment, it's F4 China ahead of F4 India, ahead of F4 Australia. Fascinating point, and very good, very well pointed out there from Siegfried Herm. Thiago Rodriguez is the king of F4 China. Cooper Webster, the man who won F4 India, and now the dominant force of F4 Australia leading up to this point in the top few positions. So there is Costa Taparis battling away, down to fourth position off his initial start on the grid. But it's definitely been an exciting situation for all of the contenders at the moment. Certainly looking very hungry. It's Rodriguez who leads the way. Cooper Webster second, but one for James Bezique, storming across and on the outside. Now, can he make that run? I think he's going to run wide here. Cooper Webster will get him straight back again. It's a good slingshot from James Bezique, but he just didn't have the braking power to bring him back in. He ended up overshooting. So Rodriguez from Webster and Bezique. Bezique is going to have another crack at him. Don't worry about that. He'll definitely have another go into the next corner, potentially, if he's close enough. He just lost a little bit of momentum. He wasn't quite close enough to hold it. So fourth place for Costa Taparis. Then it's Kai Darianani. A great start from Sebastian Amadio. P6. Then it's starting in front of the rookies. Inigo Anton, Imogen Radburn, and Seth Gilmore. So they slingshot their way through these long sweeping apexes, through the left, through the right. And then they'll go to the double right apex. This is a very tricky circuit at the best of times. In the dry, it's a real challenge for these drivers, but Thiago Rodriguez is certainly having a really solid race of it up front, looking very good indeed. The man from Macau leads the way here, and look at the gap he's already started to pull on his teammate Cooper Webster. Meanwhile, Nicolas Starty having a go at Sebastian Amadio into the hairpin. That should be a clean slam dunk move, and it is. Excellent performance there. Well done to Nicolas Starty. That's a few more points taken. What about Inigo Anton? He fancies his chances now on Sebastian Amadio. Amadio's got him well covered. He actually brakes quite late going into the right-hander, but that gives him a little bit of room to cover it off. So excellent work so far. Good performances in the midfield. This is the important bit. You've just got to get these cars to the end of race. You've got to finish. You've got to score points. You've got to keep your statistics favourable. So it's Rodriguez, Webster, Bezique, Taparis, Darianani, Starty, Amadio, Anton, Radburn, and Gilmore. Now to the hairpin, and so far Cooper Webster seems to have the edge on Bezique. I don't think Bezique is actually going to have the opportunity. Oh, a bit of a run wide there from Cooper Webster. I was going to say he's going to have little of an opportunity to come back at him, but that's a big mistake from Webster, and now it's going to be a drag race to the braking zone. Bezique's going to try and edge him out before they even get there. Wheel to wheel, almost locking wheels as they come through. Careful, boys, do not hit each other. That's as close as it gets. Down to the braking zone, and Webster will have the inside line, but Bezique will have the upper hand of not running scared. Kai Darianani trying to go the right way round the outside of Costa Taparis as well. He could finish this off on the inside. Lovely from Darianani. Excellent job on Costa Taparis. That was really good work from Kai Darianani. Really read the corner beautifully. in 5th position, in fact, because it looks as though Taparis got him back again on the exit. Great racing already in F4 Australia. If you don't have good numbers, what you need is good quality, and that's what we've got. A battle of a second, Cooper Webster versus James Bezique, and a battle of Costa Taparis and Kai Darianani. Excellent racing so far. Kai Darianani, 2 minutes 12.647 for the last lap. I think that is the fastest lap of the race so far as well, so excellent work. No, my apologies, Tiago Rodriguez has that, 2 minute 11.9. So certainly on the pace. But Kai Darianani is as quick as Cooper Webster and James Bezique. He's got tyre problems because James Bezique is all over him like a bad habit. And with 19 minutes left in this race, Cooper Webster is really running scared here, trying to block the defences of Bezique. Bezique has a look at the inside. Webster's going to go long on the brakes, but that's going to send him wide. And look at that last lap. They're in the 2.12s, but they're on the low 12s. And they're around the outside. That's incredible. Excellent work there from Cooper Webster to hang on from Bezique. Bezique is going to be backed up now to his teammate Costa Taparis. So you can see that Bezique is getting very nervous there in third position. He's won all 9 of the previous 9 races, but now that Evans GP have shown up, it's not so easy. And here comes Costa Taparis. He fancies his chances on James Bezique. It's one thing to be beaten by the Evans GP squad, but you do not want to be beaten by your own teammate. Taparis backs out of it. I think he knows that was going to be a tough one to hold on to in front of James Bezique. But if they keep squabbling, Kai Darianani's going to join in. And look, there's Nicola Stati in the background. He fancies to go as well in P6. So there is Tiago Rodriguez charging away out front. And then we've got Webster, Bezique, Taparis, Darianani and Stati. You've got to get this first hairpin right. It's not easy to pick the line. Bezique goes out a little bit wide. For Taparis to really outfox him. So as they work their way through again, nicely done. A little bit of a bump there on that part of the circuit. Nicola Stati really finding out about that the hard way as we watch Imogen Radburn and Seth Gilmore go to battle. Different liveries, but both within the AGI Sport team. Again, down to the braking zone. Costa Taparis getting very hungry behind his teammate James Bezique. This is for 3rd position. Bezique, Taparis, and then the number 8 car behind them in the Evans GP colours of Kai Darianani. Work their way through the S's, getting themselves back up to speed where they can. It's a long race, there's 17 minutes more to go, and obviously the drivers have got to look after the tyres, they've got to look after the brakes. There's a lot of hard work managing this race. So James Bezique looking after 3rd position at the moment. Best lap of the race from him is a 2:12.5. But Tiago Rodriguez has already hit the 2-minute left. Times are concerned, so there's no danger of him being caught at this moment in time. The gap is opening up, and it's gone up to 3.6 seconds at this phase of the race. So it's still a very tight battle out there for our contenders. They're really enjoying life in the lead. Rodriguez 3.6 seconds clear of Cooper Webster at the last timing line. Bezique, Taparis, Darianani, Stati, Amadio, and then Anton, Radburn and Gilmore to finish off. And the short stretch. This straight is slightly shorter than the main straight, which is almost 1 kilometre in length. Down in the braking zone, having a look at it, seeing if anybody's ready to go for that challenge. See, that's a big risk to just dive up the inside and slam dunk it and hope that it sticks. You can't just throw caution to the wind like that. Never easy to really predict what the car is going to do under brakes, especially when those tyres get hot as well. It's never really easy. 16 minutes just done on the clock. Now, going back to the battle for 7th place, this is Sebastian Amadio, Inigo Anton, Imogen Radburn and Seth Gilmore. Amadio versus the 3 rookies. And at the moment, it's the Black Arts driver, Inigo Anton, on his debut in F4 Australia. That's actually going a little bit quicker than Radburn and Gilmore. But again, it's interesting to note that Radburn is ahead of Gilmore. So Gilmore, who had it all his own way in the first part of the season, once Imogen Radburn unlocked the codes to be quick in F4 Australia, she's beaten him every time. And Inigo Anton looks like he's going to beat both of them. The young man from the Philippines, definitely a good confidence booster as far as he's concerned. So this will do him the power of good. There's Imogen Radburn, running in 9th position, looking very solid at the moment. Lap times are consistent, that's what they need to be. Fastest lap of the race, by the way, James Bezique, 2 minutes 11.057. So James Bezique is definitely getting himself back up to speed again. Tiago Rodriguez is 0.6 of a second off that. But Scott. That's the important bit. He's just got to manage this lead. But has he pushed too hard too soon? Because the other two, Webster and Bezique, can actually work together here. Two cars go through the air a lot more efficiently than one. Here's the replay of the start. And we're going to get a look at James Bezique's position there from third. Now watch Cooper Webster on the far right side. Now watch him, he's going to get in the draft of Costa Tapares. He ducks out to the left-hand side of the circuit, our right as we see it. And look, it just carries the pace all the way around. He almost got into the lead there, but he just ran it so wide. But he was able to commit on the throttle nice and early, and then he just tucks it up the inside in order to edge out the two AGI cars. Now we've got a car slowing at the back there. That is Imogen Radburn. Something's happened to Imogen Radburn. I'm not quite sure what's happened. Has she had a spin? She's got big graining on the left side tyres. So I wonder if the car has just got away from underneath her, because she's suddenly a long way back from everybody else. So there is Thiago Rodriguez out in front. But the gap is coming down. It was 3.1 seconds. Now here's a replay. This is Imogen Radburn closing up. Whoa! Big tax slapper in the double apex. So easily done. That is not an easy corner to get right at the best of times. Imogen Radburn washes out big style as we return to this battle for 7th place, and it's Sebastian Amadio versus Inigo Anton. That certainly takes the pressure off Inigo Anton now as the leading rookie. So a big wobble for Imogen Radburn in one of the toughest corners on the circuit to lose it. She was actually quite lucky not to go into the gravel there. Meanwhile, Cooper Webster still holding on from James Bezique, who is still the fastest man on track. They're now getting into the 2-minute 10s. But interestingly, Thiago Rodriguez has not yet. So I wonder if he's just running in a very solid performance out front, but at the same time, pushing his tyres very hard. So I just wonder, has he pushed the tyres a little bit too hard too soon? Because it's the longevity of the tyres that's going to count long term. Because obviously it's all well and good leading the race as it is now, but when you've got 13 minutes left on the clock, there's only so much you can afford to lose in terms of the tyre degradation. Now let's look at the tyres. Look at you can see there's a long line of graining that essentially appears on the tyres, and you can see it when they come through the right-handers in particular. But if you look at the left side of the car as the driver sees it, you'll get that long line of graining on the tyres on the left side of the car, and that's because you get so much more physical exertion on the tyres on the left side of the car. Now again, I'm a commentator, not a racing driver, but what I can do is jump behind my sim and get a sort of an understanding of what these cars are like on a simulator of the Sepang circuit. And what I found when driving the iRacing F4, actually, that the graining on the tyres on the left side can be anywhere between kicking in the 3rd or 4th lap, and so the rest of this race is just going to be about managing the left side of the car, trying not to let that tyre grain too far, and you're essentially just trying to coax it to the line. But look at the gap between Rodriguez and Webster. That's come down to less than 3 seconds now. This is not done for Rodriguez. He sets the fastest lap of the race though, a 2 minutes 10.718. Webster says a 2 minute 10.738. So there really is only a couple of hundredths between them in terms of raw pace. This is about Cooper Webster tipping the balance back in his favour over the last 11 minutes. And it's 11 minutes plus 1 lap, of course, don't forget. So when the time runs down to 0, there will be another lap on top. Great to have everybody watching along on the F4 Australian Championship feed. Like, subscribe and hit the notification bell. You'll never miss a race, you'll never miss a moment, and you can go back and watch all the previous 9 races of the season as well. But Thiago Rodriguez leads from Cooper Webster, then James Bezique, Costa Tapares, Kai Darianani, then Nicola Stati, Sebastian Amadio, and then Inigo Anton, Seth Gilmore and Imogen Radburn. Battle for third then between James Bezique and Costa Tapares. AGI Sport teammates. Costa Tapares, interestingly, of course, racing for AGI Sport when in the Middle East this year, he was actually in Evans GP colours. So it's fascinating how he's defected from one team at the front end of the field to the other. I wonder if he's feeling now in 4th position, well, maybe I should have stuck it out with Evans GP, but the benefit of hindsight is a wonderful thing. Certainly for Thiago Rodriguez and Cooper Webster, the battle is definitely accelerating at pace. So this is great news for us as spectators, because we really get to see Cooper Webster obviously try and charge after Thiago Rodriguez, but we also get to see how Thiago Rodriguez can cope with that pressure. If he can sustain it and keep that gap between him and Webster favourable, that really shows you how has become as a driver, where he's really starting to find that little bit of inner belief in yourself. A lot of it comes down to that. You've got to give yourself a good talking to when you're going around. And, you've got to have the ability to criticize yourself, yes, but you've also got to have the faith in your own ability. So Inigo Anton getting closer to Sebastian Amadio. We might see him go for the move here down to the hairpin. But that's very crafty from Amadio, able to get out of the toe and make sure that Inigo Anton's not really able to go for it. And that's very well read by Anton as well. Another rookie might have just slungshot out of the inside and hoped for the best. Inigo Anton knows this is a long race and he wants to finish it well with a rookie victory. Imogen Radburn is still going, by the way, but she now finds herself a long way back as a result of that spin. So very frustrating for her. That's pretty much the first mistake she's really made all season, to be fair, up to this point. Bit of a run wide there from Amadio. That's exactly what slipstream, drop across, get for the undercut, get on the throttle fractionally earlier and drive around the outside. He's done it. Lovely move from Inigo Anton. Excellent work from the young man from the Philippines. That was well read. That was a bit of an Alistair Young special as well. He's very good at cooking up those moves. So that will be what Alistair has taught him over the radio. Just feed it round, get the undercut, switch it up and get back ahead. Lovely job from Inigo Anton. 2 minutes 10.655, the new fastest lap from Thiago Rodriguez. He's got himself back on the horse and found another 4/10 on that last lap ahead of Cooper Webster. So he's definitely starting to find that pace again. The tyres go through certain stages over the course of the race. You've got to be able to make them go the long way. The GT tyres, they are very unique to this part of the world. Obviously, the drivers that competed in the F4 UAE Championship earlier this year will be used to them, but a lot of the other drivers have been learning them since the start of the year. And they're very different we have in the European disciplines of F4. So obviously they're designed to cope with the hotter temperatures, the higher humidity, but it obviously is still difficult, and it's a real lesson. A lot of drivers who have come over to the Asian Pacific Championships, to the Middle East Championships in F4 have said when they go back to Europe, they understand a lot more about looking after tyres, particularly about looking after graining of tyres. That's where it really becomes a proper skill. And when you go to those hot Grand Prix later in your career, when you're there at places like Singapore, when you're there at places like Abu Dhabi, when you're there at Jeddah, that kind of tyre graining, it's these kind of techniques that will really help to hone those skills. So down the straight, look at James Bezique looking a lot hungrier behind Cooper Webster than he has in previous lap. Webster seems to have lost a little bit of pace. It's trying to get the braking zone, that line for that first hairpin. It's not easy to find that little opportunity. It's not easy to kind of get the car lined up for that. A lot of these drivers would have honed these skills on the karting circuit around the back of this, and ironically enough, the karting circuit behind this Grand Prix circuit, the first two corners are very different, but the rest of the next 5 corners are identical to this point up on the course. So a lot of the youngsters, particularly the likes of Thiago Rodriguez and probably Kai Darianani as well, Costa Taparis maybe as well, who have done their karting in Asia. Maybe Inigo Anton is part of that group as well, who will have honed their skills on the kart circuit around the back of this Formula One grade track with very similar corner radiuses. It's from this point on that it takes on the shape of a Grand Prix circuit again. So there is James Bezique trying to close up again on Cooper Webster. Webster is starting to lose ground again now to Thiago Rodriguez. Rodriguez has found that little bit. I just wonder, maybe, was he just trying to get the tyres a little bit dialed back in a bit? He doesn't want to push them too hard too soon, so just coming off the pace a little bit. Again, that shows you that Thiago Rodriguez is very much a master of these GT tyres. He does know how to keep the tyres going. Now, Costa Taparis, if you've been watching him for the last few corners like I have, he is starting to slide a little bit under braking. The car is starting to get a little bit away from him in the first depression of the brake pedal. So you kind of have to come off the brake pedal and then get back on again. You almost have to correct your application of the brake pedal because you don't want to lock up. That's when you do even more damage to the top level of the tyre. So you have to be very scientific about how you look after the cars in the braking zone. Now Cooper Webster, look, is going defensive. He's actually pulling across the line a little bit on James Bezique. He clearly feels that with only 5 minutes to go, he's going to have a lot of pressure from James Bezique. He does not want to concede an opening window for him to climb out of if he can possibly resist him. Down to the braking zone for the first hairpin. Bezique's a lot closer. Give it a couple of laps and that would be worth the gamble. again, he's just trying his best to pace himself, to read where Cooper Webster's vulnerable, to pick his moment, to go for that move. Last lap for Thiago Rodriguez, he went a 2:10.5. He's pulled out 0.8 of a second on Cooper Webster. So you do wonder if that little loss of gap from Thiago Rodriguez initially was just controlling the pace, was just purely looking after the tyres. Now he's got a little bit of momentum back in him. And if you look at the graining on Thiago Rodriguez's tyres, they are minimal. He has been doing a lot of hard work to look after the tyres there. So it's good to see. Now, Imogen Radburn, rather sadly, lost about 25 seconds or so in the spin. So she now finds herself 49 seconds back from the leaders. And unless somebody else goes off the road, you're not going to make that back again, very sadly. So it looks like she'll be third on the rookie podium. Just to keep you updated, sadly, we're not going to be able to stick around for the podium ceremony because there are other races to come after this one. We've got the sports car race going into the night from the Thailand Super Series. So 4 minutes remaining. But Thiago Rodriguez is certainly going to get the spoils. If you want to see the podium ceremony with the pictures and the podium reactions, then do make sure that you follow on the social media channels of F4 Australia. On Instagram, it's F4_Australia. On Facebook, just type in F4 Australia and you'll find it. So Thiago Rodriguez leads by nearly 4.5 seconds here. Now we've got track limits at turn 4, the first warning for Seth Gilmore, who is currently second in rookie. So obviously that's something he's got to be mindful of as he works his way through. Never easy, of course, but you've still got to make sure that you're in a good position. And you don't want to be messing around with track limits at this point. Look at Pazit really starting to hammer home the advantage now in the braking zone to Cooper Webster. Webster definitely having to check himself on the acceleration point. He's going to have Pazit all over him as they get out of the braking zone. He knows that Pazit's going to be there. He's going to have to move the car across to stop Pazit going for it. He's so busy on the rearview mirror. Pazit's going to have to go left. That's where he's going to be sent. But is there going to be enough momentum to take it right round the outside? Can he get the switch back? Cooper Webster's really got to control that Evans GP car. Nicely done. It's stalemate for the moment. But Pazit is definitely getting hungrier. We're running out of time, so Pazit's got to go for the move soon. Evans GP 1 and 2 on their first appearance in 2024 F4 Australia, their first ever F4 Australia race for the moment, but can it stay that way? Come off the turn, up the hill, and then they will drop down through the left and the right sweepers. Very fast corners these. It'll be fabulous to see how it all continues on. A bit of a twitch there from James Pazit. He's definitely starting to get frustrated, sat behind Cooper Webster. Onto the back part of the circuit now and heading down to that very tight hairpin radius. Thiago Rodriguez is staying steady at 4.5 seconds for the gap. No major concerns for him there. James Pazit right in behind Cooper Webster, really starting to hustle him. He's just hoping that that mistake comes. That's his best chance to move himself further forward. Minute and a half left, plus the additional lap, so we're only going to get 2 laps to go at the end of this one. Thiago Rodriguez has the lead by 4.5, but the real battle is going to be for second between Cooper Webster and James Pazit. Costa Taparis P4, then Kai Dodianani, Nicolas Stati in P6, then Inigo Anton looking good for the rookie win ahead of Sebastian Amadio, and then Seth Gilmore in front of Imogen Radburn to complete. Pazit's got a good run on Cooper Webster now down this penultimate back straight. Maybe a run into the hairpin. He wants to really set him up for turn 1, but Cooper Webster wants to take his time. Pazit has a little thing. Cooper Webster protects, drifts out a little bit wide. This is where Pazit can get him. Gets back on the rear wing, and he's going to be charging down the home straight. Thiago Rodriguez goes into lap 12. And look at Cooper Webster. One check on his rear view mirrors. He does not want Pazit to go for it. Pazit is really trying to launch in and find a gap on the inside. Now switches back to the left. That's where Cooper Webster sends him. He needs to be a lot more direct. But Webster's going to go wide. This is the chance for Pazit. They're going to go side by side through the hairpin. Can Webster hold this? Oh, it's so close. James Pazit almost clambering over the rear wing to get through. And he still holds him for the moment, Cooper Webster, but Pazit is going to have another run up the hill. Webster tries to shake him off, but Pazit has still got good momentum. They're going to lock wheels down to the braking zone. Can Pazit get Webster? No, at the moment is the answer. So tight between the two. Great racing. Pazit is trying to dive out the inside in the left-hander. Can he hold that? That's going to be really tough to pull Webster holds him. Oh, Bezique has to back down out of it. My goodness. And now Webster's going to drift. This is going to be a chance for Bezique again. Coaxes it up to the right-hand double apex. Keeps it going. Still on his tail. Time has run out, so it's this lap to complete and then the next one to begin. Bezique has got Cooper Webster on the ropes. It's like Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed. One of them's got to crumble. This is excellent stuff. Let's watch the replay. Webster just going out too wide. Got it wrong, but managed to correct it very quickly so that when Bezique got alongside him and got level again, he was able to compress back. But he was able to almost do a block pass when he came back through on the inside. What we do in karting is we get the corner on the inside line and then we kind of stab the brake pedal to stop the guy from behind being able to get back around the other side. So it was well controlled there by Webster. He used a nice little karting trick there to keep it Bezique. And as they come through to the final hairpin on the course, they're only going to have one more lap. There is the man on top though, Tiago Rodriguez for Evans GP. He has been smooth as a baby's bum, looking so comfortable out there. And he goes into the last lap. The young man from Macau doing an absolutely perfect job so far. Just one more lap, Tiago, and this race is yours. But what about James Bezique? He is not giving up on Cooper Webster at all. Webster knows he's there. He's swarming around, trying to shake James Bezique off his toe. Bezique can just dive bomb up the inside if he gets it right. Well, Bezique waits. He lets Cooper Webster defend. He's got a few more places around the circuit where he can take his moment, though. This isn't done yet. There's still a lot he can do. Running through on the far side, coaxing it round the right, and now the elevation, climb up the hill. This is where Cooper Webster needs to be comfortable without being too aggressive on defense. You've got to keep those tyres going. A few more, he doesn't have to defend here. He's got a car length or two on James Bezique. Needs to keep it together. What a performance this is, though, from Tiago Rodriguez. He's extended that gap to 7 seconds on Cooper Webster and James Bezique. Excellent run from the man from Macau. So through they come, up towards the double apex right for the final time. And Bezique may have missed his moment here. Cooper Webster's managed to pull about 3 car lengths on him. He's got to hope that Cooper Webster makes a mistake on this last lap. Otherwise, I think Cooper's got it. A really good battle between these two. And fair play to Costa Taparis, just keeping a watching brief, just in case they trip over each other. But what I love about Cooper and James here is that they really have kept it firm, furious, fearless, but they've kept it fair. Really good racecraft from both of them. Not an ounce of contact either. As Webster controls it with a little bit of a slide, but there's plenty of grip in the tyres yet. He can control that in front of James Bezique, no problem. So they'll come onto the back straight for the last time, and I don't really see... Oh, James Bezique's going to lock up. I was just going to say, I don't really see him getting his chance again, but I think that pretty much puts it to bed. He won't be able to slam dunk that into the final hairpin, but the man up front, the monster from Macau, Tiago Rodriguez, has returned to Sepang, this time in off for Australia, and has done a fantastic job for Evans GP on the team's debut. Tiago Rodriguez becomes the second different winner in F4 Australia 2024. The run of dominance from James Bezique is over, and it's an Evans GP 1-2. Rodriguez wins, Cooper Webster second, James Bezique third, in front of Costa Taparis and Kai Dadianani. Nicolas Stati comes through for P6. We will look back and we will see the Black Arts superstar Inigo Anton of the Philippines come through to take his first rookie win on his first appearance in F4 Australia. Well done, good lad. Sebastian Amadio comes home in front of Seth Gill, who again cannot get the win in rookie. And poor Imogen Radburn will have to settle for 10th position. But Tiago Rodriguez, what a commanding performance from the man from Macau. Absolutely superb display from Tiago Rodriguez. He is so dominant in this race. He controls the pace from the start. The monster of Macau, Tiago Rodriguez, gets the job done in fine style. Excellent work. And with that sort of pace, you can almost guarantee he'll be up for the victory again in race 3. Potentially even in race 2 tomorrow as well. But great job from Cooper Webster. The Indian F4 champion sustained all the pressure from the Australian F4 championship leader and dominant force for the first 9 races. But for the first time in 2024, James Bezique is vanquished. That's the first time all year that neither he nor AGI Sport have taken a race victory, and they come crashing down to earth with a thud. as Evans enter their first weekend of the championship and take a 1-2. Great work from Thiago Rodriguez, great work from Cooper Webster. James Bezique has to be comfortable with third place, but crucially for him, he still finishes ahead of all his championship rivals, and his main rival, of course, Nicola Stati, finishes down in 6th position, and that's a big problem for Stati because that is the lowest he has finished in a race this season. So it's certainly a real headache for the contenders in this battle. But James Bezique comes away with a 3rd place and 15 points. That takes his tally to 240. Nicola Stati comes away with 8 points. That takes his tally to 153. But the top speed team down there come home to greet the drivers, and the Evans GP team and AGI Sport teams will be very happy to start their campaign mid-season, admittedly. Well, they are making a statement in F4 Australia, here to make a showing. It's good preparation, of course, for them for the F4 Southeast Asia Championship at the end of the year. But Thiago Rodriguez takes a brilliant